Hi, my name's leowt, and you have found your way to the Conversations podcast. Conversations exist to create spiritually minded conversations about life. We desire to create safe space for dialogue and community. We desire to come together regularly and intentionally to generate conversations about life, belief, and the intersection of the two. Everyone is welcome at the conversation. This was an email sent to me and the other members of the Olean Regional Justice Coalition, so if you could just listen up, that would be great. This comes into my inbox this morning. The mayor is listening to his constituents and not getting into a tranny and a bunch of other faggots who think this town is full of racism. You're all a bunch of gay white people trying to use the BLM movement to get the same faggy legislation passed that you've been pushing for years. This town doesn't care about you and all your faggot friends, so find a different hobby. All 6 of you holding up signs isn't going to do anything but make more people hate you. Take your tranny story time and gay cross-dressing fashion shows and go to some other town. You're not welcome here. Go mutilate your genitals some more, you mentally disturbed moron. Nobody likes you and you're a joke of our town. It's hilarious watching a handful of you stand with signs, pretending you have the voice of the people. It's pretty clear by the lack of people in your movement that we don't want you here and we are perfectly fine without you living here. Faggot. Signed, you're a faggot. From gofuckyourself@eatadick.com. Please tell me no children are watching this, because this is the thing that's about to happen. I've been coming out here, showing up on live on Facebook for a while now. You guys have seen it. It's something that I'm doing regularly. And I've been doing that as a part of ORJC since the very beginning of the summer, where I've been working alongside and with and behind and around Black and brown people in Olean since this summer. Hate and racism are real in Olean. And the reason that I tagged the mayor in this status is because he's the one at the top and he still refuses to believe that it exists. I can get an email that calls me a faggot, a tranny, a mentally disturbed moron, someone who's mutilating their genitals, and tells me that I'm not welcome here. That is the kind of hate that we have in Olean, New York. And yet our mayor refuses to believe it and he refuses to take action. Time and time again, LGBTQ people and gay people have shown up in City Hall and made their voices known. And anonymous keyboard warriors that are hiding behind their own keyboards have came in and they've said, oh, nope, lied. Just kidding. They didn't come in. Anonymous keyboard warriors have apparently emailed Mayor Bill Aiello. I have no proof of this, but apparently keyboard warriors are emailing Bill Aiello and saying that we don't want police reform. We don't want faggots. We don't want N-words. They're saying these things. They're saying shoot them in the streets. They're saying get out the hoses. They're saying shoot them in the streets and leave them to the birds. I have screenshots of comments exactly like this. And yet Olean Mayor Bill Aiello will sit and on public comment make a joke with Alderman Paul Gonzalez, where Alderman Gonzalez will be like, oh, ho, ho, they're talking about your lack of transparency. And Mayor Bill Aiello laughs. Maybe you should make sure that's not on camera next time, because the city of Olean is seeing that you do not care for the minority residents of Olean, period. If you were a leader, Bill Aiello, if you were a leader, Paul Gonzalez, you would stand up and you would make a definitive statement that says this type of hate and transphobia and racism will not be allowed to occur. But instead, when minority members show up for weeks on end to the town hall meetings and to the city council chambers and on the Zoom meetings, you will continue to deny the voice of the marginalized in Olean, and you will instead continue to appoint another person that looks like you. I don't know Steve Barnard from anybody, but what I do know is that he was not the highest rated candidate. He didn't come in the first round, and there were more highly qualified and diverse candidates that were ready to fill that alderman position. And you know what Mayor Bill Aiello did? He said, nope, don't care. Let's keep doing the same thing. So I want to break this down for you. In essence, Bill Aiello said, I am okay with the hate and homophobia and transphobia that is present in this area. Furthermore, I myself have spoken to the Olean Police Department about not one, but two, but three incidents of hate crimes that have been perpetuated against me, one of them by the Olean Police Department. And I have brought these concerns to the mayor. And this summer, when I brought this up to the mayor, he didn't even remember meeting with me. So how am I supposed to have faith that a fourth time that I receive a direct piece of hate mail? How am I supposed to believe that the Olean Police Department is going to do anything if I report it as a hate crime? I don't. I don't have any confidence in our mayor. I don't have any confidence in our police department. And then when people step up, over 17 people in the last 2 weeks stood up to comment openly in favor of a police review board and in favor of a new diverse city council candidate. And then the mayor had 6 anonymous emails. 6 anonymous emails. And you know what he did? He went with the 6 anonymous emails on his own, carte blanche. We don't have a mayor. We have an impotent czar who's continued to make his own decisions that favor people who look and act and love like him. And this is not okay. Point blank and period. And to the writer of this email, I really hope you're watching, because you need to realize that gay and black people in Olean, we're not enemies. We're friends, and we're working together to make this city a better place. We are moving forward in solidarity, and you can go back to the rocks you hid under, or you can come out into the light of day, because it's not going to stay the same. You're not going to scare us, you're not going to move us, and you're not going to push us anywhere. We are here, and we are demanding that Olean be made a better place. And by and large, the people who are speaking, hear me now, the people who are actually speaking and who are actually identifying themselves, they want progress and they want change. The only voices of dissent that we have heard so far have been anonymous keyboard warriors and some dude named Kurt that came to a city hall that really just wanted the police to get more money and more police officers. What is actually happening in Olean, New York? That we have leaders, it's not the right word. We have people filling places in office that will not stand up to racism and homophobia and transphobia. Do you know how many times the N-word was commented on the local protest video from the George Floyd protest? Because I do. Because I read every one of them. I made a 5-foot-tall statue, and I covered it with comments from Olean residents on public Facebook pages since the George Floyd incident and the 2 to 3 weeks surrounding that. And a 5-foot-tall fist statue could not hold all of the comments. They could not hold all of the comments. And then when I took that statue to a town hall meeting and I said it in front of Bill Aiello, he literally ignored it, which is a largely metaphoric for what he has done this entire time in office. It is absolutely disgusting, and it must change. If you can hear this video, I need you to realize that this is an election year. This is a year where we can get impotent placeholders out of office and where we can work for progress in Olean. You can show up every other week. I think it's 2nd and 4th Tuesdays, and you can make your voice be heard in city council. Because guess what? The voices that have been heard so far, they're not enough. So we need to overwhelm the mayor with a resounding cry for the end of hate and the tolerance and perpetuation of hate via complacency and complacency in the mayor's office. Make no mistakes that in this moment, if you do not denounce hate, racism, and homophobia and transphobia, then you promote hate, racism, homophobia, and transphobia. And it is time for that to end. Because you want to know what? There is over 3 million rural LGBTQ people in America. Rural LGBTQ people in America. There is over 3,000 black people in the town of Olean. And at this moment, our leadership does not stand in the interest of any of those people groups. And you know what those people groups are asking for? Not to be killed. Let me think about how that's a hard one to not take a side on. Let me think about that. If you will tolerate an environment that is going to give someone the freedom to send an email calling people trannies, faggots, genetically mutilated morons, you can promote an environment that says you're not welcome here, get out of town. If you are in office and you do not take a firm stance against that side of behavior, you have taken a stance. And you have taken a stance with the hater. You have taken a stance with the person who is perpetuating hate speech. I know some people don't want to hear this, but there's no room for a middle ground when it comes to hate speech. There's no room for a middle ground when it comes to racism. There's no room for a middle ground when it comes to homophobia and transphobia. And whatever illusion you have that we're just a bunch of faggots and N-words, we're here arm in arm and we're not going anywhere. So I don't know where you got that mistake. Because I am a resident of this town, and I go to city council regularly, and I vote and I pay my taxes, and so do many other people who fall into those two categories. We are here, and this is as much our town as it is yours. And that mayor, that office of mayor, is supposed to serve every single constituent in this city. And until that happens, that mayor has failed. And I don't care who it is. It's a failure. And once you go beyond one time of being a failure, you are intentionally being detrimental. You are dragging your feet. I'm not scared of you. I will never be scared of you because you are small-minded. Anybody who allows this kind of behavior to happen or does this kind of behavior, you're one and the same. Whether you're in elected office or you're behind a keyboard screaming epithets, it's not acceptable. It's 2021 and we're going in a different direction. And maybe the faggots and the trannies and the other minorities and the Black Lives Matter people, we're all moving there together. So you better get ready or you're going to get squashed. Allison, you're exactly right. People who choose not to address racism, transphobia, and homophobia, they don't address those things because they are acknowledging by negation that they benefit from the status quo. To not take a stand at this moment in history is an acknowledgement that you benefit from the status quo. And when the status quo is racism and transphobia and homophobia, if you benefit from that system, you are henceforth racist, homophobic, and transphobic. We've seen this kind of behavior before with Kevin Doherty, who was happy to openly call people dykes and was happy to tell LGBTQ candidates that he would rather have them dead. He was happy to offer death threats. We've had this person in office before who literally would choke before he would say the words Black Lives Matter. And now we have a mayor who is saying a whole lot of things by his inaction. It's unacceptable. It's not okay. And it's hate being perpetuated from our city council. It's hate being perpetuated from our mayor's office. And until you can acknowledge that, Olean will continue to die on the vine. Period. If you love everyone in this moment, I need you to do me a favor and I need you to email your elected officials. I need you to find your alderman's name. I need you to find the mayor's email and I need you to send them an email. And I need you to call them and fill up their inboxes. Because right now they don't believe that we exist, despite the fact that we've been showing up in the streets in numbers in the hundreds since this past summer. If you can hear this video, I need you to contact the mayor. I need you to contact your alderperson. And I need you to do it face-to-face or voice-to-voice, please. Because emails are too easy to dismiss. I will post the comments in these videos. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. You have got to contact your elected officials or they will continue to do what is in their best interest and not in the best interest of the community. It is an absolute joke for us to be in the place we are in 2021. Cuba, New York embraced police reform before us. Jamestown flies the pride flag. These are not faraway lands. These are our geographic neighbors. These are both close to us in size and smaller and more rural. And we're standing here complicit with racism, homophobia, transphobia, and honestly, an acceptance of no accountability for police officers. And we have a mayor who is perpetuating those things. He's perpetuating those things by denying people with a real voice a seat at the table. Period. He didn't even remember meeting with me. Period. He wouldn't put anybody in office in the alderman position, even as a placeholder, that was not of like mind with him. These are choices he has made recently. These aren't even histrionic. The ink is still fresh on these. And if we don't make a change, no change will happen. Period. No change will happen. I took a literal 5-foot fist statue plastered with racist quotes and death threats from Olean residents on public forums, and he literally looked past them. Literally looked past them. If people are willing to say these things blatantly in the light of day on public forums, what is being said behind closed doors? Do not give me a line about making Olean a more welcoming place until you can fundamentally offer protection and support to the people that already live here, because we are here and this is our home as well. We are here, and this is our home as well. And don't get it twisted. We're friends, and we talk, and we work together, and we will be in the streets together, and we have been in the streets together, and it's not going to change. Because until Black Lives Matter and until LGBTQ people do not have to be afraid for the existence of their own business or their own personal protection, Olean is not a welcoming place, so you can't make it a more welcoming place. Because that bears with it an implication that it was welcoming to begin with. And I don't want to hear any all lives matter bullshit. Because until Black lives and gay lives and trans lives matter, then all lives cannot matter. Period. All elected officials bear a responsibility to bring this to fruition. All government functions, i.e. police departments, bear a responsibility to bring this to fruition. The phrase with liberty and justice for all and the phrase we the people is a joke until you stand up and you make it so. We don't need one more Patsy. We don't need one more Aiello yes man. What we need is someone who is willing to say all for Olean, who is willing to stand up and say until all of my constituents' lives are safe and cared for, then our work is not done. And we do not have that in Olean right now. We do not have that right now. If you're watching this and you're an Olean resident, there is some amazing, amazing ways that you can communicate this. Go to the City of Olean website, look up Mayor Aiello's email address and phone number, and look up your alderperson's email and phone number. I'm not going to play. We have some good people in office as alder people right now. Contact them. We have some not great ones. Contact them. Put it on public record where you stand. Because until it's on public record, it doesn't exist. Cassie, I called the FBI about hate crimes, and they never called back. Over 30 people called in about hate crimes in Olean, and nobody called back. So unless we stand up and we put this to them, they will bury it. They will bury it in the ground until we refuse to let the dirt be put over us anymore, and we stand up and say enough. It's an election year, everybody. It's an election year. Moreover, when you see impropriety happening, as we did with former Alderman Ron DiPolito, you stand up and you say something. When you see impropriety happening with Kevin Doherty, you stand up and you say something. When you see impropriety happening in local pulpits, you stand up and you say something, because the system of status quo depends on our silence. Everything starts with us standing up and saying something. That is the base of any and all justice, and there is no justice and there is no peace until there is justice for everyone. including the faggots, and including the trannies, and including the black folks, and including the Asians, and including the First Nations people, and including the disabled. We are so far from equitable and just, it is not funny. But we have a chance to make a difference. We're on a precipice, Olean. They wouldn't be sending hate mail if we weren't on to something. They wouldn't be throwing bricks through windows if we weren't on to something. They wouldn't be sending anonymous emails if it wasn't safe for them to remain anonymous because they're not affected by the ills in the system that we have now. We must band together, and we must do so in the name of justice for all and in the name of we the people, because right now it is we the straight, white, conservative, male Republicans. There's no one that Bill Aiello will appoint to office until they have an R after their name. We have to put the pressure on and change that. And I will tag the mayor and the city of Olean in every video until any minute action is taken. Because this is not acceptable. There is a feeling of safety for someone to step up and read and write this letter and send it. That is white privilege. Period. Let's read this letter again in case anybody who's on here hasn't seen it. This email was sent to me this morning via my connections with ORJC and sent it to my inbox. The mayor is listening to his constituents and not giving in to a tranny and a bunch of other faggots who think the town is full of racism. You're all a bunch of gay white people trying to use the BLM movement to get the same faggy legislation passed that you have pushed for years. This town doesn't care about you and all of your faggot friends. So find a different hobby. All 6 of you holding up signs isn't going to do anything but make more people hate you. Notice an admission that people already hate us. Take your tranny story time and gay cross-dressing fashion shows to some other town. You're not welcome here. Go mutilate your genitals some more, you mentally disturbed moron. Nobody likes watching a handful of you stand with signs pretending to have a voice of the people. It's pretty clear by the lack of people in your movement that we don't want you here and we are perfectly fine without you living here. Faggot. Signed, you're a faggot. From gofuckyourself@eatadick.com. This is Olean, New York. This is not made up. This is here and now. This is happening. And any and all local leadership is complicit in the sending of this email until they publicly decry it. There is no margin. There is no middle ground when it comes to hate for humanity. It is blatant hate, racism, homophobia, and transphobia. And to be silent is to add your voice to the voice of the oppressor. This is absolutely unacceptable. If you are still watching, I need you to please call and email Mayor Bill Aiello incessantly until he actually takes a stand for the people that live in this town. I need you to demand better of our elected officials. Last week, there was an open spot for alderperson in Ward 4. We had 5 people apply for the position, 3 of whom were overwhelmingly qualified and diverse. We had Black, LGBTQ, female, diverse perspectives. They were ringers, all of them. Mayor Aiello said, I have to go talk to some more people. And then he came back with a straight white male Republican who has already held office. He did that last week and he appointed them. In the face of progress, He chose the status quo. And let me draw a line for you. He chose the status quo, and right now the status quo is a place where it is safe to call someone a faggot or an N-word and know that there will be no repercussion. Right now, Olean is a place where it is safe to throw a brick through the window of an LGBTQ and Black Lives Matter allied business, and you will not face repercussion from the police. That is the Olean that we live in right now. And that mentality is perpetuated by the people at the top who will not change it. And the reason they will not change it is because it benefits them. It is an acknowledgement by negation that the people in power benefit from the system of patriarchal, heteronormative, white supremacy, Christian nationalism. To not stand up against hate speech is to acknowledge that you benefit from hate speech. Things have to change, Olean. And they have to change now. And if you're watching this video and you're not from Olean, I guarantee you the same things are happening in your town. Please go to your city or town's website. Please look up the names of your elected officials. And please, if you've ever cared about me as a person, please email your elected officials. Please call your elected officials. Please show up at city council, because right now we've been showing up. And they think we're the only ones. They need to know that there are more of us out there. And it needs to not be a safe place to be racist, homophobic, transphobic, or hateful. If you do not support that, your voice is needed in this moment, whether you live in Olean or outside of Olean. And if you live in Olean, I am begging you to please dig in and do some work. Call ORJC, call your local elected official. Please do something, because without your help, the minority people in your community will continue to be crushed under the same boots that they have been crushed under for years, until the community digs in and lifts the boot off and holds elected officials and police departments accountable. The same system will perpetuate until we take action, and we continue to take action until we see change. Now is not a time to be quiet or passive. Now is a time to be firm and bold. I didn't say aggressive, because I've been accused of being aggressive. But make no mistake, this is not aggressive. This is a promise for continued action and continued presence. And I need people to join me. Desperately need people to join me. If you have white privilege, cis privilege, male privilege in this moment, now is a moment where you can share your privilege. I know some awesome folks that have different points of privilege, and I'm not going to call them out right now because they would never like that. But I have a friend who literally came with me to the police department to report the hate crime that I experienced at my salon. And the entire time that I was with the police reporting this crime, they continued to defer their speech from me to my straight white male friend. And so I need you to know that if you have a point of privilege in this moment, that is okay. You got to share the privilege. You got to use the privilege in a way that works for the marginalized. We do not know who sent this message. It is an anonymous message, completely anonymous. It was signed, "You're a faggot," and the email address was gofuckyourself@eatadick.com. Very courageous to send anonymous hate mail. Very courageous to send emails to our mayor and say that you don't want police reform. That's cute. Very cute. Takes a lot of courage to be anonymous in a moment like this. If you are watching this, please, 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 please contact your mayor, contact your alderperson, contact your elected official, because I guarantee you there are faggots and trannies and black folks and Asians and disabled folks right now in your community who need your help and need your allyship. Privilege is not a bad thing. Hoarding privilege is a bad thing. Please stand up. Now is not the time for indifference, because indifference right now only serves to further the cause of hate. Indifference right now only serves to further the cause of homophobia. Indifference right now only serves to bolster the cause of racism. Now is not the moment for neutrality. Now is the moment for intentional, concerted stands from people who believe in the phrase "we the people" and in the phrase "liberty and justice for all." Because last time I checked, the trannies and the faggots and the black people and the Asians and the disabled folks and the First Nations people, we are all part of "we the people." And we are part of the group that deserve liberty and justice because we are part of the all. Please contact your local elected officials. Please contact your local Justice Coalition. If you're in Jamestown, you've got Jamestown Justice Coalition. If you're in Olean, you've got Olean Regional Justice Coalition, amongst many others. There are so many justice coalitions functioning right now. There are groups in Bradford, in Kane, in Cuba, in Olean, in Jamestown, in New York City, in Portland, in Texas. Like there are places all over. There is a justice coalition that you can get involved with right now. And if you don't know, email me and I'll find it. I'll find it for you. I will Google search. If you're in Erie, get a hold of Tyler Titus. Like, there are groups that are doing the work. Get involved now, because now is the time when we need it so desperately. Especially if you're in Olean, because it's an election year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If there is anything that I said today that connects with you, please take action. That would be the biggest thank you I could ever receive. Have a good night, everybody. This has been the Conversations Podcast. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions or comments, or just want to get involved, feel free to join the conversation on social media. You can find us at Conversations Official on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And please don't forget to rate, follow, and share this podcast. We're available on Anchor, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for joining the conversation.